Dead Island 2 has some awesome weapons, but forget those, who needs them when you've got these? No, seriously, they're actually pretty good. Fists only, no mercy, and causing blunt force trauma is the name of the game. Can my brute strength and sheer willpower take on Dead Island 2's toughest challenge, Masochist difficulty? Let's find out. Same as last time, I'll be randomly picking my character. Jacob it is. I haven't checked out every character, so I'm not super sure, but based off of his abilities, I don't know if we could have picked a better character. Feral allows us to get a damage boost when attacking in quick succession, and he's got a ton of health, at the cost of every bit of resilience. This'll be interesting. I know this isn't related to the challenge, but I feel the absolute need to say that you probably shouldn't do this. Don't do it. But anyway, the plane crashes and I make my way to the other survivors. This is my first fight in the journey, so I've got to start off strong. Only the inventory is disabled, which means I can't switch my weapon off of the machete. So for this specific tutorial portion, I'm going to allow the use of my foot to take out the zombie, since I have no other choice. There, finally.
That sets the bloody tone.
Then it's time for the obligatory part of every challenge I start, where I have to unlearn the habits I gained in the challenge before. Yay! So this time around, it's backstepping in Survivor sense. Without any sort of blocking or dodging enabled yet, and the limited reach of my fists, this beginning section seems a lot more difficult than it really is, since the zombies land so many hits on me. But luckily, I get out without any deaths. But yeah, I get bit and then head to Bel Air where there's a load of tougher zombies already coming at me. Like I said, I'm still getting used to this game, so every accidental jump that you see from me is from me trying to back dodge. Speaking of back dodging though, I do have one now as Jacob since we've reached this area, but it's very different than Dying Light's version. Getting it to be useful to you is a lot more difficult, but if you're able to pull it off at the right time, you're able to get that sweet counterattack that always deals a ton of damage and even heals you. My only problem will be with getting used to the timing. I'm more of a block guy myself, so until I unlock that, dodge will have to do. For specifically the early game, I'm also noticing that the power attack is a really good choice. Not because it does more damage or anything, but because if you time it correctly against a single zombie, it'll lock them into an animation, ensuring you don't take any unnecessary hits. It's just these small things that you can take into account and make the challenge incrementally easier. Punching my way to Emma's house.
It's a miracle you didn't get bit. Ew.
It's time to take off the training wheels. The Masochist skill card is unlocked here, and it's time to see just how difficult this will make my life. I would normally utilize the hose and broken wire to use environmental damage, but this is a fist-only run, so this ends up taking a lot longer than it needs to. For anyone who doesn't know what kind of difficulty the Masochist skill card introduces, here's what it does. The reduced Slayer and stability damage is going to be the toughest part of the challenge by far, but at least I don't have to worry about the less weapon durability. It's time to head to the Halperin Hotel now. So after Sam B breaks down the door to the house, I set out. Each time you see me throw a curveball randomly like this, just know it's me trying to use Survivor Sense because Dying Light baked it into my brain that the Q key was made for situational awareness for some reason. I pretty much get immediately sidetracked on the way to the hotel though because I decide to help Curtis down from the roof of his home. And this really puts into perspective just how difficult this challenge will be on this difficulty. Since I have to get such close proximity to the zombies to dish out any damage, if there's more than one or two of them, they really end up doing a number on me. As those of you that have played this game know, there's no invincibility frames between taking damage, so you can pretty much be instantly killed if 4 or more zombies hit you at the same time. It makes fighting in a tiny room like this incredibly difficult. But eventually, with enough dodging and jumping around the place, and a little perseverance, I'm able to take out the special infected and finish Curtis's quest. After a quick stroll through the block, I finally make my way to and through the hotel. Not a whole lot is different here in terms of gameplay until I get to Bridezilla, who was my first encounter with a crusher or a goon or a thug, or whatever the heck these things are called, because being honest, I can't keep track of them anymore. There's just too many variants out there. Before I get into the fight, however, let me tell you about a little breakthrough in the challenge. Out in the parking lot of the hotel, I found these brass knuckles, and while yes, they are technically a weapon, they are considered by most to be an extension of one's fists. I left it up to you all in my chat since I was live streaming this challenge, and you concluded the brass knuckles would be okay since they are an extension of my fists and still did bludgeoning damage. But things like hand claws wouldn't be okay since they would require the usage of blades technically. If you'd like a chance to throw your opinion to me as these choices come up, feel free to come hang out in the stream. Using my brand new green brass knuckles, as long as I dodge the extra zombies that attack, the Crushers in Dead Island 2 are really easy to take out. They only really become an issue in groups, I've noticed, because their attack patterns are so choreographed and easy to react to. Except the kicks. They land a kick on me pretty much every single time, and there's not a single thing that I can do about it. This fight goes to show perfectly just how amazing the brass knuckles are. They are known as a frenzy weapon in this game, which means with each successive hit done on the enemy, they trigger criticals and give a minor boost to attack speed. The effect is even stackable, making the brass knuckles the absolute perfect weapon for the challenge. A little spoiler here, I come to absolutely love these things by the end of the game. After the fight, it's time to make the long trek back to Emma's house to tell them there was nobody there. I come across Amanda's questline on the way home where she wants me to do a bunch of stuff for her Vine video, but quickly realized that in order to do it, I'd have to have some sort of kicking ability or redirect skill to launch the enemies off the roof like she asked. I could probably get away with kicking, but if I allowed it in this fists only challenge, I'd have to allow head stomping and all kinds of other things. So I decided to keep it simple and head back to continue the story. Michael is feeling down, feeling replaced since Sam B and I have come along, and he feels he needs to prove himself useful to Emma in order to stay in her life or something, going out into the night to scavenge some supplies. At this point in the game, I'm already underleveled compared to the zombies, so when not using the brass knuckles, it takes such a long time to kill them. To make things worse, the knuckles I currently have in my inventory, the white and green rarity ones, are the only brass knuckles that I found in the entire game. I'm not sure why they were so rare, but when they broke, I could only use them again when I got them repaired. To make things even worse somehow, for some reason when my white rarity knuckles broke, they actually broke, deleted and gone from my inventory. I didn't even think that this could happen, so I don't know what happened to them, but for the next long while, I only have the green rarity knuckles to use. Remember earlier when I said zombies in a pack are the most dangerous? Well, that's unfortunately what caused the first death of the playthrough. But I didn't let it happen twice, taking out every zombie, including this swarm walker. Let me just say this though, could you imagine zombie bees or even mosquitoes in real life? How is this whole world not infected at this point? I quickly end up at the studio after moving on to where Emma filmed her movie Rise of the God Spider. I'm underleveled, and since for the most part I'm sprinting past all the zombies that I don't need to fight, the zombies are hitting hard, especially these guys. I'm not sure what it is about them, but they are easily responsible for 20 deaths between this challenge and the last one I did for beating the game while not using blueprints. Let me know if any of you have had the same issue with these zombies, or if it's just in my head, because I'm genuinely curious. This brings me to the next big bad boss fight, the Caustic Walker. He's another one of those zombies that has clearly choreographed and easily dodgeable attacks, but due to his toxic spit, you can't remain too closely to him, or you'll, melt. He's also resistant to bludgeoning damage, so he's pretty much a natural enemy for this challenge. Between his bile and the extra zombies running around the place, I'm detoured from damaging him for a long time, making no progress in the fight. Even longer because I'm not allowing myself to cause damage with the environment. Eventually, however, through sheer brute force, literally, I finally take him out and we clear the way for Michael. Next up on the agenda is to meet up with Sam B since he knows where to find some guns. Not super sure why Ronnie decides to tag along here, but you can probably guess what happens to him. While Nikki isn't exactly depicted as a boss fight, the amount of fighting you really have to do here puts her on the same level as one in my opinion. Her entire thing as a zombie is to either enrage the other zombies around her, or summon them and then enrage them. In this fight, she only enrages them, but I still have to be extremely careful with the sheer amount of zombies that come running at me with enhanced damage. At this point in the game, I finally unlock the block ability to replace the dodge, so that'll allow me to remain up close and personal with the zombies to dish out more damage. For fights like these, I pretty much have to rely on this ability since it's simply too dangerous to attack them normally at times. Might I also say, who in their right mind would think to kill a zombie like this? I don't know about you guys, but I'm staying as far away as I possibly can from a zombie's mouth, let alone punching through it. With Nikki finally out of the way, it's time to get a gun.
Ronnie's taking afternoon tea with Jesus. Shit.
Why'd you say it like that? And then not use it. That's right, every single zombie here is going to be punched in the face repeatedly. So let's get through this. Shamblers, punched. Walkers, double punched. Burning runners, extinguished. Crushers, you get the picture. The only real issue I had with the zombies was this slobber who constantly all the time does his puking thing that he does so well. Did you know that you can throw water at your feet and it clears that? Not sure about the logic behind that decision, but hey, I'll take it. I get back from the excursion with Sam B to Michael having been bit. I take him out using my fists. Totally. And then it's time to head out once again. It's a whirlwind to the next area, so I hope you're ready. I head into the sewers, avoid some zombies, meet the exploder, meet Patton, run through the fleshy gates of hell, avoid more zombies, finally learn how to use fury when I'm pushed into a pit by a mean woman and her crew of dingbats, kill a bunch of zombies with fury since I'm still using my fists, die about 350,000 times to these zombies attempting to leave, actually survive against those same zombies, and then finally emerge in the sunny streets of Venice Beach. Now that I'm in Venice Beach, I head to this restaurant called the Blue Crab and do some quests for these dudes to pass the time. I also unlock this dash strike skill card that we're actually allowed to use for the challenge because it involves dashing forward and Bruce Lee chakra punching an enemy to inflict weakness to them. It'll definitely make a great addition to the limited arsenal that I have. While I'm here, I'm contracted for free to put this guy's friends to rest permanently. Of course, they were bodybuilders, so that means I'll have to face a crusher or two. The first one was obliterated and embarrassed by Patton himself, and the second one is now what I like to call a Fire Lord Ozai zombie. I like to call him that because the dude is able to firebend and make his arms light on fire at will for some reason. Ozai here was a huge pain in my butt. Not because he's really difficult to deal with on his own, but because this fight constantly spawns in these random other zombies. I spent about 15 minutes specifically taking out the ads, but they just kept coming. When focusing my attention on just the big guy though, the runners would come and smack me in the side of the head, leaving me open for Ozai to attack me or do a ground slam that also spreads fire for some reason. To top it all off with a cherry, whenever he does the slam attack, he also summons a pool of oil at his feet that lights on fire, meaning I have to back up because the close proximity of punch attacks will ensure that I get set on fire. As a reminder, even with the vast amount of health for my level with Jacob as my character, it still only takes 3 hits to kill me. In the end, my strategy revolved around slow, methodical gameplay, while occasionally dousing them in water or leading them toward the fire hydrant to get rid of the fire element. The correct way to go about this was to essentially use the extra zombies as a health pack. Each time you get a perfect block and counterattack, you gain back a crazy amount of health. Changing my way of thinking to this was essentially how I got through this section finally with a victory. That's pretty much the biggest thing that happens in Venice Beach. After Ozai is taken care of, we're able to move on to the next area. I bust my way through the blockade, totally don't die here like 4 times, and finally find myself at Ocean Avenue.
I'm knackered. I could sleep for a week.
I know, right? The Sterling Hotel is home to a bunch of survivors, and it opens a bunch of opportunities for me in the challenge. Oh, and for anyone wondering, here's what my skill deck is looking like at this point. Though I obviously don't use things like the Venom Spit because not allowed. Ironically, I end up getting stuck on a relatively easy mission in the game after being sent to check up on Bob, who never returned. In the first floor parking garage, we have to kill a bunch of zombies, and then when she spawns, a screamer. This is one of those screamers that spawn an unlimited amount of zombies the more she screams, and this actually makes her a seriously formidable foe. As you could probably guess by this point in the challenge, my main issue is large groups of zombies, so this screamer is the bane of my existence right now. I get stuck for over an hour, dying over and over again before giving up and going to do some side quests for a while to grind some levels. A few side missions later, I return and exact some sweet revenge. Finally finished with that quest, I make my way to Ruben once more to continue with the story. Long story short, he wants me to go to the beach and get some blood extracted and then pick up his laptop. But before I do that, I go to do another side activity for someone named Boz at the studio. I don't end up using any of the mortars like Boz wants me to since I'm not allowing environmental damage, but all the extra practice against the zombies tips me off toward a strategy that will soon become essential to the challenge. So let's be real for a minute. Fury in this game is pretty lackluster. It lasts for like 10 seconds if that. There's barely any damage. It's very unsatisfactory. But something special here makes my Fury actually do some serious damage. Check it out. Did you see it? I did way more damage this time around, even after accidentally going into it trying to heal, since G and H are right next to each other. I didn't pick up on it right away, but I eventually noticed that when I have the knuckles equipped when I enter the Fury state, I think the game still thinks I have them equipped. It's as if my Fury has the Frenzy weapon modifier now. This will be an absolute game changer. With this information fresh in my mind, it's time to go to the CDC HQ to get my blood withdrawn, and then head to Santa Monica to get the laptop. I get beat up a bunch of times because there were 2 crushers at the same time, but after taking them out, I managed to get my hands on the short fuse skill card that will allow me to enter Fury whenever half full. Since you get a boost to health whenever you do so, this is almost like a renewable medkit that regens when I take damage, perfectly block attacks, or drink energy drinks. Such a good upgrade, especially with the new Frenzy strategy. Another thing to mention that I don't think I have yet, when I maim an arm or any limbs from a zombie, I get sent into this crazy fast attack speed that is so fun. It gets so chaotic, but it sends my damage output through the roof, especially if I use the knuckles while it's applied. With this combination of new abilities under my Batman utility belt, my next few rounds with zombies don't even stand a chance. The bloaters, crushers, voltaic screamer, even the infamous Butcho the clown zombie couldn't hold up to the might of fists only. The pattern for fighting Butcho pretty much went unload, get blocked, perfect block him back, repeat. I punched him so hard his freaking hair fell off. We are absolutely flying through the story at this point, so stick with me. I wash up on the beach and lay there without being eaten by a zombie somehow. Sprint back to Ruben, find his daughter's missing, go find her, break into the Apple store and steal the latest iPhone. Then it's time to go fight Noah, our first mutator. But first along the way, there's a special weapon I want to get called the Party Starter. So you bet I'm gonna go get that. The Party Starter is a pair of legendary brass knuckles that have a fire element to them. I get them by looting this guy who died in the bathroom, and then running to multiple spots along the pier until coming across a fire spitter named Jordan. I then steal his keys once he's resting, then go to his car to get the weapon. These will be invaluable to our completion of the game. I am officially ready for my first fight against a mutator. You'd think Jacob would have learned by now not to put your face up against a glass window when a zombie is on the other side of it. This guy is going to be really rough to beat, specifically because mutators love to grab you when you're too close. Even if you get out of it, it still inflicts bleed damage to you, so I'm gonna have to be really careful. Get too close, get grabbed and bleed. Get too far, he shoots his rib cage at you that makes you bleed. Staying at a medium distance, he's gonna hit you with his overhead attack and possibly instant kill you. Fighting Noah is a pretty delicate balance, so I'm glad that the game stocked me up on health meds before the fight. Luckily, as with every other zombie, if you're good at blocking and know the moveset, you can block his attacks and stay right up on him so long as he doesn't grab you. Playing as Jacob at this point, I have an absurd amount of health, so I can afford a few slip-ups, and I end up besting Noah on my first try and unlock my first Newman card that kinda feels not very good. I appreciate being able to stay in Fury for longer, but if it comes at the cost of my own life, then On the way back, I'm ghosted by Ruben and his daughter as they just fly on out of there in their personal helicopter. You see, I'm like the Hulk. You don't ghost the Hulk. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry and all that. And we don't let that stuff slide around here. So I head back to Bel Air and assemble the Avengers, Patton, Sam B, and Emma to go track them down. I get separated from them by a gently closing door, however, because of course I do, and now I have to navigate my own way through the metro. My brand new fire knuckles come in crazy handy, and after some careful dodging, I managed to take out Butcho 2.0 and the band of roaming misfits in the tunnel. Here we are at the final stretch. Like, actually, this final area is so small. But it's finally time to take out the final boss, the Rubinator. He's pretty much the same as a normal mutator, only he has a lot more health. While normally it's recommended to use a sporting rifle or something against him, I don't have that luxury, being forced to get up close and personal. This boss fight is mostly difficult not because of our pal and best friend Ruben, but because every zombie in the game is thrown at you all at the same time. If you can't take care of them in a quick and efficient manner, they will quickly overrun you. Same for if they end up cornering you. If they do, it's pretty much over. There's also random explosions that happen and not knock me down, and when that happens I'm susceptible to tons of attacks from nearby random zombies. So my strategy consisted of leading all the zombies to one end of the room, then I run back and attack Ruben since he's slower, and if a particularly powerful zombie is causing me trouble other than Ruben, like a fire slobber, I make it a point to kill them first. It takes me about 4 tries, but finally I take him out and finish the challenge.
Oh, Mom. I'm done.
Well, there you have it. This challenge was honestly, and I can't stress this enough, so much fun. I love doing these challenges like this because it forces me to play the game in a way I never would have thought of doing otherwise. I never use brass knuckles, for example, but here they were genuinely the highlight of the game. Even if I only found 2 throughout the whole game and got the last one from the Lost and Found mission. This is one of those challenges I actually recommend you try out if you're looking for a fun time, because if you're anything like me, you would never think to play this close quarters in a zombie game. Something was so fun about going berserk with the Fury trick and attack speed boosts. But yeah, thanks to all my beautiful elites, your support helps me tremendously. Big thanks as well to all those who joined the stream as I was playing through this live. I hope you had just as much fun as I did. Hope you're all excited for the next video. It'll definitely push Dying Light 2 to its limits.